Russia built a drone that chooses who to kill on its own. It's number 10 on this list, and everything before it was just the warm-up. Garand 2. The drone everyone calls the Shahed 136 because that's what it is. Iran designed it. Iran named it Shahed 136. Russia bought it, copied it, localized production, and slapped a new name on it, Garand 2. Geranium. Moscow renamed a killing machine after a flower. Every night, Ukrainian cities hear the same sound, a moped engine in the sky. That's the Garand 2, piston engine, 150 to 185 kilometers per hour, carrying 40 to 50 kilograms of explosives, with a range of 1,000 to 2,200 kilometers on paper, and 800 to 1,500 in real missions. Russia produces 300 to 450 of these every month. Peak months push past 500. This is not a weapon, this is a production line pointed at civilian infrastructure. By 2026, the modifications got nastier. Fiber optic control at 30 to 40 kilometers, immune to jamming. Thermal cameras, hardened electronics against Ukrainian EW. And the experimental E-series carries something no one expected on a kamikaze drone. R-60 air-to-air missiles and man-pads, a suicide drone that shoots back at the interceptors hunting it. Here's what most people miss. Ukrainian air defense kills 65 to 85% of these things. Sounds like a win. It isn't the whole story, because Russia built its entire strategy around the 15 to 35% that get through. The Garand 2 doesn't need to be invincible. It needs to be cheaper than whatever you shoot it down with. And inside the wreckage, Ukrainian intelligence found NVIDIA computing modules, the same chips students buy for robotics projects. A flower with an American brain, built from an Iranian blueprint, flying at Ukrainian apartment blocks. That's drone number 1. Gerbera. Another flower name, except this one is barely a weapon at all. The body is styrofoam, the internal frame is plywood. That's not a design flaw, that's the entire concept. Gerbera is a cheap fake Shahed, built to look like a Garand 2 on radar and cost almost nothing. July 28, 2024, a Russian unit tied to the Alabuga Special Economic Zone, the same facility that mass-produces Garands, published a video presentation. White drones circling in the sky, one black one diving into a target. That was Gerbera's public debut. It carries a 4G modem and communicates through Ukrainian mobile networks. Your own cell towers relay its video feed. Range up to 300 kilometers without warhead. Roles, decoy, reconnaissance, signal relay, and occasionally strike. What most people miss is Gerbera exists to make you waste a missile on styrofoam. Every interceptor spent on a plywood glider is an interceptor that won't exist for the real Garand flying behind it. Ukrainian air defense crews face this choice every night, and they can't see the difference on radar until it's too late to matter. Russia isn't just attacking Ukraine's cities, it's attacking Ukraine's ammunition stockpile with foam. Garand 3. Russia's localized copy of Iran's jet-powered Shahed 238. The moment the Moped grew a jet engine. First combat use recorded in early 2024, with regular deployment ramping through 2025. The black fuselage isn't style, it's night concealment. Speed 300 to 370 kilometers per hour. Operational range up to 1,000 kilometers. And here's the tactical detail that matters. The drone saves its maximum speed for exactly the moments you need it slow. It accelerates to 370 in air defense zones when interceptor drones close in and on the final dive to target. Think about what that does to the defense. A regular Garand 2 cruises at 180 kilometers per hour. Mobile fire groups in pickup trucks kill them every night with machine guns. The jet version arrives nearly twice as fast and speeds up when hunted. The window for a shot shrinks to seconds. What most people miss is what's inside. Ukrainian intelligence took one apart and published everything. The jet engine? A Chinese Telefly JT-80, a civilian turbojet, freely available on the commercial market for $30,000 to $35,000 retail. The fuel pump? Bosch. Satellite navigation protected by a 12-element Cometa 1-2 antenna array, built specifically to survive jamming. In total, 45 foreign components identified, half from American manufacturers, 8 Chinese, 7 Swiss, 3 German, 2 British, 1 Japanese. A Russian jet drone, copied from an Iranian design, flying on a Chinese hobby market engine with a German fuel pump and American chips. The sanctions didn't stop the components, they just added middlemen. Garand 4. First identified by military analysts in early 2026. The stealth iteration. Same family, new answers to Ukrainian defenses. Radar-absorbing carbon composite skin, jamming-resistant Cometa M antenna arrays, a new turbojet, the Telefly LXWP-160, Chinese-made, and optional thermal or optical terminal guidance, so even if you blind its satellite navigation in the final kilometers, it finds the target by sight. The warhead options changed too, thermobaric or combined fragmentation high explosive configurations. Foreign components recovered from wreckage span 7 countries: the US, China, Taiwan, Switzerland, Germany, the UK, and Japan. Ukraine's intelligence directorate published a full interactive 3D model of this drone, component by component, on its war and sanctions portal. You can inspect the guts of the thing yourself. What most people miss, Garand 4 isn't deployed alone, it flies in combination with decoys. Gerberas soak up attention and ammunition, while the stealth airframe threads through the depleted defense. Garand 5. And here the word drone stops fitting. 6 meters long, 5.5 meter wingspan, takeoff weight 850 kilograms, warhead around 90 kilograms, nearly double the Garand 2. Speed 450 to 600 kilometers per hour, range up to 950 kilometers. This is not a flying moped anymore. This is a budget cruise missile. According to Ukrainian intelligence, the design shows significant similarity to Iran's Karar attack drone. The Iranian DNA never left the program. First strikes early 2026. One of the first launches likely hit Kiev on January 7, 2026. What most people miss, 2 development directions that should worry everyone. First, Russia is exploring Garand 5 as a carrier for R-73 air-to-air missiles with infrared homing, a drone fighter hunting Ukrainian aircraft. Second, air launch from Su-25 attack jets, which extends range and eliminates ground launch boosters. In 2022, Ukrainians shot Shaheds down with rifles. In 2026, the same family carries air-to-air missiles and weighs nearly a ton. Evolution doesn't ask permission. The S-8000 Banderol. Built by Kronstadt Group, and this one contains the single most absurd fact in this entire series. It's a small cruise missile, 114 kilograms total, 49.5 kilograms of explosive, oxygen mixed with aluminum powder. Speed 400 to 500 kilometers per hour. It launches from the air. The primary carrier is the Orion drone, with the Mi-28 helicopter as an alternative, a drone that launches from another drone. Now the absurd part. The engine that powers this weapon is a Swiwin SW800 Pro, a Chinese turbojet that is openly available on AliExpress, a hobbyist engine. You could order it tonight with free shipping. The rest of the shopping cart, an InvenSense motion sensor from the US, an ST Microelectronics microcontroller from Switzerland, an RFD 900X radio modem from Australia, a Murata battery from Japan, a Dynamexel servo from South Korea. Ukrainian intelligence recovered intact samples and published the full component list. What most people miss, this is the sanctions regime's report card. Sanctions controls were designed for a world where weapons components came from defense contractors. Russia builds them from consumer electronics, and consumer electronics are everywhere. Orlan 10. No warhead worth mentioning, and still one of the most lethal aircraft in this war. Built by the Special Technology Center in St. Petersburg, in service since 2012, over 1,500 produced. The Royal United Services Institute assessed it as one of the most important elements of Russian army reconnaissance in Ukraine. The specs are almost boring. 3.1-meter wingspan, 18 kilograms, gasoline engine running on regular A95 fuel, catapult launch, parachute landing, 90 to 120 kilometers per hour. Cost per complex, $87 to $120,000. Orlan doesn't kill you, Orlan finds you, and then the artillery kills you, or the Lancet does. This is the spotter for the entire Russian strike system, and it's disturbingly good at it. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance operators report that Orlans can even detect Wi-Fi signals. A Starlink access point in a tree line tells the Orlan that soldiers, not farmers, are down there. By 2025, Russia was even using Orlans as motherships, carrying FPV drones under the wings for extended range drops. What most people miss, and Part 1 viewers already know this story, in October 2018, Ukraine trained its Mi-24 helicopter crews by flying its own Leleka drone as a simulated Orlan 10. Days later, a real Orlan appeared over Lysychansk. The helicopter crew executed exactly what they'd rehearsed and shot it down. Ukraine has been preparing for this specific aircraft for years. Kill the Orlan and the Lancets go blind. Which brings us to the Lancet. The Lancet, built by Zala Aero, Ferraton in 2019. The most feared loitering munition on the front, and the most overhyped weapon in Russian media. The real numbers, up to 300 kilometers per hour in the terminal dive. Range, 40 to 70 kilometers. Newest versions pushing 100. 12 kilograms takeoff weight, 3 to 5 kilograms of warhead. The KZ-6 shaped charge variant penetrates 215 millimeters of armor. Inside, an NVIDIA Jetson TX2 computing module, American silicon guiding the strike. Oryx analysts counted the propaganda footage through May 2023. 113 hits shown, 41 documented misses. Effective, but not the wonder weapon Russian television claimed. Early Lancets were mediocre, weak warheads, and a critical dependency. Almost every successful Lancet strike required a second drone, an Orlan or similar, to find the target and guide the approach. Kill the spotter, blind the sword. Production tells the real story. In 2023, the assembly line managed around 300 units per month, while Russian propagandists claimed tens of thousands. By 2026, actual output scaled to 3,000 to 5,000 monthly, a tenfold jump. And the 2026 versions fixed the old weaknesses. Lancet 3 fiber runs on fiber optic cable out to 40 kilometers, completely jam-proof, with thermal cameras and early swarm tactics of 3 to 5 units. A version with LiDAR and remote detonation was built specifically to defeat the anti-drone nets Ukrainian crews stretch over their positions. What most people miss, the Lancet's evolution is a conversation. Ukraine hangs nets, Russia adds standoff detonation. Ukraine jams, Russia goes fiber optic. Every Ukrainian countermeasure gets an answer within months. This isn't a weapon you defeat once, it's a weapon you keep defeating forever. Molniya, lightning, $300. Not 300,000, 300. Plywood, plastic, cardboard. Crews assemble them in field conditions and tape the parts together with reinforced tape. It looks like a school project. It carries a 10-kilogram anti-tank mine. First documented strike, November 12, 2024. The specs: wingspan around 1.5 meters, up to 10 kilograms, 3 to 5 kilograms of payload. Originally RPG-7 warheads and KZ-6 charges, now escalating to PTM-3 and TM-62 anti-tank mines. Range 30 to 40 kilometers and growing. In the terminal dive, it hits around 190 kilometers per hour, and operators can cut the engine, silent approach, ballistic trajectory, nothing to hear until impact. Loaded with a TM-62, it can't take off from the ground. Russian paratroopers launch them from apartment balconies in occupied Bakhmut. Unlike the Lancet, it needs no spotter drone, it's self-sufficient. What most people miss, Ukrainian drone operators themselves called it what it is. The cost of delivering explosives 30 to 40 kilometers has never been this low, and Ukrainian specialists publicly urged copying the design. When your enemy builds something for $300 that works, you have two options: copy it or lose the economics of the war. There is no third option. V2U. The last drone in this video, and the one that should keep you up at night. Everything before this point, Gerons, Lancets, Molniyas, has a human somewhere in the loop, an operator flying it, a spotter guiding it, a signal connecting them. V2U is what happens when Russia removes the human. This is a loitering munition with an onboard artificial intelligence system for autonomous search, recognition, and engagement of targets, capable of operating without any link to an operator, including under active electronic warfare. Flying wing, 1.2 meter span, pneumatic catapult launch, electric motor, 60 kilometers per hour cruise, up to an hour in the air. A newer modification with a combustion engine extends range to 100 kilometers. Warhead, up to 3.5 kilograms. The Brain, an NVIDIA Jetson Orin module, the world-leading AI computing platform, mounted in a Chinese Li-top mini-computer, a combination that sells on Chinese marketplaces for about $380. And here's the detail that breaks electronic warfare as a defense. V2U carries only one GPS module, evidence that Russia has largely abandoned satellite navigation because of Ukrainian jamming. Instead, the drone navigates by computer vision, comparing its camera feed against preloaded photos of the terrain. You cannot jam a drone that navigates by looking out the window. First spotted in September 2024 at a military display in Kazan. First combat use, February 2025, Sumy direction. By mid-2025, Russia was launching 30 to 50 per day, effectively training the drone's AI in live combat conditions. They operate in groups of 2 to 6, likely coordinating over LTE or Wi-Fi. In May, a swarm of 7 V2Us attacked the village of Veliki Borluk. The drones identified a cluster of vehicles near a Nova post office and people at a market and struck them. Civilians at a post office, selected by an algorithm. What most people miss, those 30 to 50 daily launches aren't just attacks. Every flight is training data. Every strike, every miss, every image the camera captures makes the next version better. Ukraine isn't fighting just an army anymore. It's fighting a dataset that improves every single day. And the chip it learns on is American.